I'm Tarot Oracle, and today we're talking about barriers. Welcome back to the Complete Tarot course. This is a slowed down version of Tarot course with my method, where you can grab your cards and sort of follow along. It's a little bit casual, more casual than the intermediate courses, and it's going to be at a slower pace as well. So today we're talking about barriers. So what is a barrier? So let's say that you have a card reading and they're asking you about better times ahead. Maybe in a rough time, they're asking you about better times ahead. So in this situation, you are definitely moving towards a better time in the next card. So this is definitely going to be a positive reading, etc., etc. So what if you introduce a barrier, something blocking you from getting there, or something that's preventing you from seeing the situation over there? So what if you have a cheating spouse or whatever over here? You could clearly see that, but if you have a barrier, maybe you can't see that. So there are quite a large variety of barriers. Let's go over some of the basic ones. The first one is going to be a hard barrier. This is something that's going to impede your progress. So let's say you're looking for a relationship and you're headed that direction, but now you have a barrier. So as you can see, a hard barrier or a firm barrier is something that is not exactly easily moved. So we have the boy looking this direction, trying to head this away, but he's having an issue because we have a hard barrier in between him and what he wants to get to. Again, we have sort of a barrier between her and what she wants to get to. Now, this is not easily taken down. This is not something easily removed. Same thing with a brick wall. So all three cases here, we have a hard, firm barrier that's preventing us from getting where we want to go. So if you're looking for a new relationship, you found someone, you're looking for a relationship with that person, and these are your cards for the reading, that would be a little bit more challenging because it's not exactly a hop over to get to the next card. It's going to be a hard barrier between you and this card here. If there wasn't a barrier, then sure, you're moving towards that new relationship. You're moving towards that renewed relationship, the happy relationship. But here, there's something stopping you from getting there. So this is a progress barrier. So it's stopping your progress. It's stopping you from getting to the next situation. So what is that barrier in the reading? Could be maybe some emotional baggage. It could be an ex that keeps bothering you that won't go away. It could be that you have other things in your life like work. So you have some type of barrier between you and this happy relationship with children. So definitely look at the hard barrier or the firm barrier. Now, what does a barrier do? Again, it impedes progress. It impedes the situation from getting over to the next card. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. In this case, a good beginning, a nice beginning with a relationship, etc., is going to be bad. So that barrier is going to stop your progress. So the next barrier is more of a soft barrier. It's things that can be moved. You can clearly move these objects out of your way and go in a particular direction. Maybe one of these, you can move these objects out of the way and go a particular direction, but they are stopping your progress, but not as badly as maybe another type of card. So instead of a wall, now we have objects that can be moved. So if I want to head to the next card, for example, and I want to get this new job or something like that, I definitely have a barrier between me and the new job, but it's a softer barrier. It's not something that's going to be huge drama, big time, barrier stopping me from getting there. It's going to be something that I can work out. So the new job may be inaccessible right now. Maybe you need a couple of days additional training for IT training or something to get there, but it's not a hard barrier. It's not like, I'm trying to get a position as a doctor and I've never gone to college or something like this. It's not a hard barrier. It's not something firm. It's not something that's completely going to impede progress, but it's going to slow it down. So the last barrier, where we have the wall, etc., that's going to completely stop progress until it's fixed. So obviously you're going to try to get this relationship. You have a hard barrier. Maybe they're, in another relationship. Maybe they just don't like you or something like that. You have definitely something that's going to completely stop your progress. It's not going to make any progress toward that goal. So here we have something that's just going to slow you down. You're going to be able to move these objects, and you're going to be able to get to the new job, or you're going to be able to get to the new career or whatever. But there's something slowing you down, and you need to figure out what it is. It's not something you can immediately leap into the next card and everything's clear and sunny and free. It's going to be something to where it's going to stop you temporarily or slow you down. So definitely something to look at as far as slowing you down. It's going to impede your progress, but it's not going to bring it to a complete halt like a solid object would. So go through your cards and try to find the two types of barriers. Try to find, what do we have for a solid barrier? So here's another example of a softer barrier. So we have a softer barrier. It's going to slow down progress towards this new job. Maybe it's going to slow down progress towards a new family. Maybe slow down progress towards a better life, a happier time, etc. So you have something slowing you down. You have combat, or you have some battling going on as well. But you have something slowing you down. So go through your cards and look for anything with a hard barrier. So that now you kind of wonder, is this a barrier or not? I'm going to say no, because clearly you can just step through. So if you can step through you can step through several objects, etc., then that's not going to be a bad thing. It's not going to be a true barrier. A barrier is going to be something that definitely blocks you from going somewhere, or in this case, it's something you have to move out of the way, and it's going to slow you down from getting to the other card. So pause the video, go through all of your cards, and try to find all the different types of barriers that you can find so far. Again, we have the hard barrier and the softer barrier, the difference being it impedes your progress or at least slows you down. So the next type of barrier is what I call an exit barrier, to where you can't get back from whence you came. So she's headed this away, and we have not only the cups in the way, but we have the door in the way, stopping her from getting back to where she came from. Again, we have the Ten of Cups. They're coming forward, but they have a barrier between them and where they came from. And here we have the Five of Pentacles. And again, we have a solid door, and the door is preventing her from escaping. So this is escape barriers. So what is an escape barrier? It means I can't really get back from where I came. So let's do that in a reading to make that a little more clear. So let's say this person has left a loving relationship for a different relationship. So this is more of a different relationship. This person has more friends, I assume, or something like that. So we have a totally different relationship. So now she wants to know, can I go back to that old relationship? I kind of miss that person. I want to know if I can go back to that old relationship. And we have a barrier between her and the older relationship, or in other words, we have a barrier between her and her past, or things that were there before and things that she wants to get back to. So she's not going to be able to go back easily, because we have quite a bit of barrier, like a double barrier, in between her and the previous relationship. So if you have a question like this, someone wants to know, hey, I'm headed to this new start with this other person. I'd like to go back to a previous relationship. Your answer is going to be, you're going to have a hard time doing that. You have not only one, but two barriers between you and that previous relationship, and it's not going to be easy to get back to it. So that's what I call the escape barrier, or the barrier of getting back. So let's say you left your job, you had a bunch of friends at the previous job, and you moved to maybe a new job, and they want to know, hey, do you think they'd have a position open for me over here? It's going to be, you have a barrier between this and that open position, because it looks like that someone may have filled the position, or they may have closed the position, or something like that. So definitely moving forward is going to be more recommended than moving backwards. So someone wants to know which is a better decision, the past or the future. If you see an exit barrier, the answer is definitely going to be the future is going to be preferred in the situation because of the different types of preventions that we have from going back. And that could include anything, again, with these hard barriers here or the barrier here being sort of dragged away, from the past or something, and being maybe dragged to the past in this case. So we have a barrier in between the what was there before and what is there in the future. So the past is not going to be preferred over the future when we have a barrier like that. So go through your cards and try to find reverse barriers or exit barriers, to where we have people trying to go back and they're not going to be able to go back because they have things like this. So go through all of your cards and try to find barriers that are similar to that in your deck. So the next barrier is going to be a spatial barrier. So a spatial barrier is basically that there's a lot of space between you and where you want to go. So that's going to drag out the time that it takes to get there. So this is different than the soft barriers that we have between you and something, because those are removable, right? So if we have something like, let's say something like this, to where we need to move a few things to get to where we're going to go, then that's still possible and it's still very reasonable to do that. However, it's going to take a bit of effort and a bit of time. This spatial barrier is going to be a bit of more time and more patience required to get through this. So moving a few objects out of your way, for example, like on this one, moving some of the objects is going to take some time and be a little effort. This is going to take more time and more patience than just a soft barrier that you have between you and where you want to go. So for example, we're trying to get back to a previous relationship, for example. We have a big spatial barrier between you and where you'd like to go, you and your destination. We have a spatial barrier that's sort of isolating you here, and then we have a spatial barrier to where it's going to just take some time to weave around and get to where you want to go. So this is going to require a lot of patience. This is going to require some guidance as well, because it's easy to get lost in a spatial barrier. Obviously, when you can move the objects, it's not easy to get lost, and you don't really need a lot of guidance because you know where to go. You can see it through the barriers, right? But a spatial barrier, you could need a bit of guidance to weave your way around here. You could need a bit of navigation guidance to get to where you need to go. And here, this looks like a straight shot to where you need to go, but it's going to take some patience. So different barriers cause different delays, and a spatial barrier introduces the possibility of getting lost. You could literally get lost within the realm of the space because there's too much space to deal with, or it could require a lot of patience to get to where you need to go. So this spatial barrier could slow you down, if it's something easy to move, but this will require patience, and obviously you could get lost. So how would this do in a reading? We're headed towards getting a family started maybe, and it's definitely going to require maybe some patience in order to do that. Maybe this person that you're starting the family with is not exactly thrilled about starting a family. Maybe you're going to have to convince them. Maybe you're going to need some help, maybe a relationship counselor or whatever in order to get there. But you're moving in that direction. We do have definite movement in that direction, but the spatial barrier that's between us and the destination means we're going to need a little more patience with this person to start a family with. So look through your cards and try to find the different spatial barriers that you have. We have a lot in the original Rider-Waite deck, and we have a lot in many of these other decks. So go through yours and try to find spatial barriers, and let me know in the comments what type of barriers that you found and what you think, just your intuition, what you think would be the biggest challenge here. So for example, going from here to here, the challenge would be the amount of patience you need. It's foggy. Maybe you have a risk of being lost if you have different directions to go. Maybe you're going to need some help in getting this relationship started. Maybe need some family counseling or whatever. But there's definitely a barrier there and something not stopping you, but slowing you down and requires patience. So go through your deck and let me know what you find. And so the last barrier that we have is a barrier between you and an escape. It's going to be difficult to get out of the situation. So this is going to be different than the reversal barrier or the exit barrier to where we can't go back to where we came. So here we can't go back to where we came. But here we can go back. There's definitely an escape route here. There's an escape route here. There's an escape route here as well. But there's a barrier between you and the escape. So let's say you're in a bad relationship. Let's say everything is not going the way that you wanted, and you want to know what type of strategy do I have to get out. Well, it's not going to be easy to get out of this relationship. It's not going to be quite as easy as maybe you thought it would be. It's not going to be a smooth sailing from you getting out of the relationship. You have a barrier, and as you can see, we have an emotional barrier here as well, but we have sort of we can't escape. It's going to be difficult to escape from the situation. Maybe we have this great relationship that started out fantastic, and then the relationship kind of went south, and now I want to get out and find somebody new. Again, we're going to have issues getting out of that relationship. Maybe everything was going great at our job, and we were having a good time at the job. Everything was going fantastic. Then we have some drama with the job, and we're just going to try to move to another job. Is that going to be easy? No, it's not going to be easy. There's going to be some challenges in getting to that new job. Escaping the job that you had is not going to be as easy as maybe you had thought it would be. So this is an escape barrier. So how is this different between a soft barrier, between, let's say, this barrier here to where we have a sort of a soft barrier? This type of barrier is that you're stuck, you're trapped into this little situation and you can't get out. Here, he's trapped and he can't get out. She's trapped and she can't get out. And he is trapped and he can't get out. Now, don't confuse this with something like this, to where there is an escape route and it's open. But just because you're emotionally distraught doesn't mean you can't escape. Here we have a clear line of escape. So when you look at escape barriers, don't just look at the structures and things like that. Look for a way out. Here we have a successful way out, but here we're going to have a situation to where there's not going to be an easy way out. It's not like this one to where I can just walk through and get out. It's going to be difficult getting out. Same here, it's going to be sort of difficult getting out, navigating through the swords, and here it's going to be difficult getting out. So obviously you can get out. There's not a situation to where you're stuck. There's not like solid walls all the way around you. That wouldn't make any sense in any tarot. So in many tarots, you'll have this to where there's going to be an issue escaping. There's going to be some drama in getting out. So look for these. These are going to be the rarest type, but look for these type of barriers in your cards and see what you can find. Are there any situations to where you're just trapped? Are there any situations to where it's just difficult to get out, get up, and get moving and get out of that situation? So go through your cards and try to find those. And that will be the end of the barriers. We do have one other type that we could, a very, very stretch type of imagination, to where we have a barrier between you and your goal. Now, could you call this a spatial barrier? Maybe. Could you call this a stretch barrier? Maybe, but it's definitely something that's so rare that I don't want to really put any emphasis on. But if you find that, that is sort of interesting topic of discussion in order to, is this a spatial barrier? Is this some type of a stretch barrier or whatever? So that's it for barriers, and that is another Complete Tarot course video done. Thank you so much for watching. I put a lot of effort into these videos. If you like these, please hit like and subscribe. And I would greatly appreciate your subscription if you like this series, especially because we're going to be coming out with more series like this. So thank you again for watching, and have a great day.